As always, we like to give praise and honor to the Most High Ahaya in the name of his son Yeshaya. Today marks the beginning of another edition of the GLCC Sabbath lesson. Now today's lesson we're going to go into is a foundational lesson, but a very important lesson. This information was put together by Brother and Elder Yerachmiel, and we thank him through the Spirit of the Heavenly Father for compiling this very important information. The title of today's lesson is Truth is Power. Truth is Power. So today's focus is going to be the power that comes with truth and honesty. Okay? And with this, we're going to cover a range of different topics, as well as different perspectives of truth and honesty. You may have some people who ask the question, is it okay in certain circumstances to be dishonest or to not tell the truth? We're going to cover that according to the Bible and see what the Bible has to say about that question or that perspective of truth. But before we get into that, we're going to go into a few references, a few scriptures. And in fact, before we go into a few scriptures, I want to go over an article that I found. This is real quick, which touches on the different levels of lies according to this society. And the reason why we're reading this article is because lying has become second nature in our modern Western world society, in which it's passe or it's simple. It's tying your shoes when it comes to being dishonest or lying to either a loved one, a friend, or anyone you may come across. And it's come to the point in which they have divided lies into different categories. And we're going to compare this concept of lying according to what it states in the Bible and what the scriptures say about lying. Does the Bible divide lies into different categories to make it either more or less so detrimental or damning? Okay? But before we get into that, we're going to go into this article, which is called Truth, Lies, Deception, and Cover-Ups, Democracy Under Fire. And the title of the article is Category of Lies: White Lies, Gray Lies, and Black Lies. So these are the different category of lies that they have divided this one concept under. Okay? And it gives a pretty detailed description of each type of lie. And we're going to see how this measures up according to the Bible, because of course the Bible is the measuring stick in which we are to measure all information. So it states, we live in a dystopian era of lies and deception, permeated with propaganda and censorship. Often it seems that people in positions of power and influence don't think the truth matters, and many seem incapable of telling the truth. The excuse that, quote unquote, everybody lies, so they're stating that this is an excuse that's used on a political level, but it's also used on a social level. Okay? So it states that the excuse that everybody lies, end quote, is sometimes given as an excuse for deception, as if this has become a universal norm. And we're going to show that it has become a universal norm. This argument assumes that all lies are the same. And if all lies are the same and everybody lies, then effectively this argument implies that truth doesn't matter. But of course, this twisted thinking is wrong. The truth matters a great deal, and people want and expect it. But it is also true that everybody lies. How can we reconcile this apparent contradiction? So that's a very good question. How can we reconcile this very apparent contradiction? The fact that everyone lies, but yet we know that lying is wrong and that we all expect to be told the truth. Well, we're not going to go into his particular solution to the problem because we know the solutions of our problems are contained in the Bible. So we're going to get the biblical perspective of truth and what it means to be honest. Now let's get into a few references according to the Bible. Let's start off with the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 13. Hebrews 6 and 13. And I'm going to get there with you. And we're going to start in the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, chapter 6, verse 13.
Hebrews chapter 6, verse 13. For when the Most High made promise to Abraham, because he could swear by no greater, he swore by himself.
So it tells us, according to the Bible, when the Most High made his promise to our father Abraham, because he could swear by no greater, meaning he could find no greater entity in this earth to make his covenant or to swear his covenant upon. It states that he swore by himself. And this is just a side note. We know that the topic of discussion is truth is power. But I want to make mention that this verse is very powerful in understanding the covenant between the Most High and Israel. Because the Most High swore by himself, it is impossible for his covenant between himself, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel to be done away with. Because that concept would make the Most High a liar, as we're going to read. Verse 14.
Verse 14, saying, surely, blessing, I will bless
So
thee.
it states, surely, meaning definitely, will I bless thee. Surely will I bless thee. Go ahead.
And multiplying, I will multiply thee.
And multiplying, I will multiply thee. So this is a promise that the Most High made to Abraham. And as we read in verse 13, he made this covenant by swearing upon himself. So the Most High's name is on the line with this particular covenant. And we know that the Most High, his word does not go back void. So once he makes a covenant or promise, that promise cannot be done away with. Go ahead.
Verse 15, and so after he had patiently endured, he obtained the promise.
So after Abram or Abraham patiently endured, he obtained the promise. Go ahead.
Verse 16, for men verily swear by the greater, and an oath for confirmation is to them in an end of all strife, wherein the Most High willing more abundantly to show the heirs of promise the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath.
So he confirmed it by an oath. He confirmed his covenant by an oath. Go ahead.
Verse 18, that by two immutable things in which it was impossible for the Most High to lie.
So the Bible states that by two immutable things it was impossible for the Most High to lie. Now we're going to read the definition for immutable out of the Strong's Dictionary of the Bible. And it's G276. That's G276. And it states unchangeable or unchangeability. Okay? That's something that cannot be changed, regardless of time, circumstance, whatever have you. So read that again.
Verse 18, that by two immutable things.
Two immutable things, meaning unchangeable things, unconditional things. Go ahead.
In which it was impossible for the Most High to lie.
It was impossible for the Most High to lie. Go ahead.
We might have a strong consolation.
We might have a strong consolation, meaning the people of this covenant. Go ahead.
Who have fled for refuge to lay hold upon the hope set before us.
So we, in strength, in consolation, and in faith, and in hope, can run for what?
Who have, for strong consolation, who have fled for refuge to lay hold upon the hope that is set before us.
So it states we have fled for refuge to lay hold upon the hope that is set before us. Why? because we understand that it's impossible for the Most High to do, Salakia, to do away with the covenant that he made with our forefather Abraham. It's impossible for him to lie concerning this particular covenant. So this concept of it being impossible for the Most High to lie, that's going to be the basis of our discussion, of our lesson, because remember, the topic is truth is power. And as we just read in the book of Hebrews, the 6th chapter, it tells us that by two immutable things in which it was impossible for the Most High to lie. Okay, so we're going to focus on that concept. And as we know, according to the Bible, it tells us that we are to be holy as the Most High is holy. So the same way it's impossible for the Most High to lie, we must follow that same example. And we're going to show you how we could follow, or how we should follow this example according to the Bible. So let's jump over to the book of Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments.
So the Bible tells us that we, as sons of the Most High, are not to forget the law, and that we are to keep his commandments. Now, what do the commandments have to do with the concept of truth? We're going to find out that the commandments of the Most High are synonymously linked with the idea or the concept of truth. And to prove that, we're going to jump to the book of Psalms 149, if I remember this correctly.
119.
Psalms 119, right. Yes, sir, that's it. All right, that's exactly it. Psalms 119 and 148. Or the 114, Salakia.
Psalms 119, verse 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth.
So it tells us in the book of Psalms 119, 142, that thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. So according to the Bible, the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High are the truth. So when we go back to the book of Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, and we read about the importance of keeping the commandments and how we are to gravitate and keep the commandments in our heart and our minds, we want you to realize that this concept is linked with the understanding of truth, okay, when it comes to the commandments. So let's go back to the book of Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. And let's start at the first verse.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments.
So let thine heart keep my commandments. As we just read, the commandments or the law is the truth. Go ahead.
Verse 2. For lengthened days and long life and peace shall they add to thee.
So the commandments add long life, they add peace and length of days. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 3. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee.
So let not mercy and truth forsake thee. So that's a part of keeping the commandments, the idea of mercy and truth. When Christ condemned the scribes and Pharisees, he states that they have left the weightier matters of the law undone. And one of those weightier matters was mercy. So that's another very important perspective, or another very important part of keeping the commandments, which is mercy, okay, as well as truth. So it says, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Go ahead.
Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thine heart.
And write them upon the table of thine heart, as the Bible speaks about the law being written in our hearts. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 4. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of the Most High and man.
So in doing so, we shall find favor in good sight of the Most High as well as men. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Trust in the Most High with all thine heart.
So we must have trust in the Most High with all our heart. Okay, go ahead.
And lean not unto thine own
And
understanding.
we cannot lean upon our own understanding, because according to our own understanding, we may find different excuses or different reasonings for lying in certain situations. Okay? So the Bible states not to lean upon our own understanding. If we go upon our own reasoning, our own understanding, we'll find many excuses why we shouldn't follow the commandments, why we shouldn't follow the law, why we shouldn't be merciful, why we shouldn't cleave and gravitate towards the truth. So the Bible tells us not to lean upon our own understanding. Go ahead.
Verse 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him.
And in all our ways we must acknowledge the Most High. In what we eat, how we speak, how we dress, how we live our lives. All these things are an acknowledgement, or are to be lived in acknowledgement to the Most High. Go ahead.
And he shall direct thy paths.
And he shall direct our paths. So when we acknowledge scripture such as the one when it tells us that we are bought with a price and that we belong to the Most High, we are servants and prisoners of the Most High, and we live our lives according to the acknowledgement of the Most High, he will begin to direct our paths and direct us in our lives, our decision making, and so on and so forth. Okay? But it all comes with keeping his commandments and being merciful and being honest and truthful. All right? Let's move to the next reference, the book of Proverbs 16:6.
Proverbs chapter 16, verse 6. By mercy and truth.
In fact, let's start at verse 1. Proverbs 16, verse 1.
The preparations of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from the Most High.
So the preparations of the heart in man, as well as the answer of the tongue, is from the Most High. Go ahead.
All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes.
So all the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes. So when we look ourselves in the mirror, we always look from a positive perspective. We look as if our ways are clean, as if our ways are right. The way we think, we believe it's right. We justify it with our own philosophy. But the Bible tells us that what?
All the ways of a man are clean in his own
So
eyes.
even though your ways may be clean in your own eyes, go ahead.
But the Most High weigh the spirits.
But the Most High weigheth the spirits. Okay, so the Most High, in other words, he trieth the reins of the Spirit. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Commit thy works unto the Most High, and thy thoughts shall be established.
So you commit your works to the Most High, like we just read earlier. In all things acknowledge the Most High. It states that our thoughts shall be established. Go ahead.
Verse 4. The Most High hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil.
Go ahead.
Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Most High.
So everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord, or is an abomination to the Most High. Go ahead.
Though hand join in hand, he should not be unpunished.
Go ahead.
By mercy and truth, iniquity is purged.
So by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged. By mercy and truth, iniquity is purged. Go ahead.
And by the fear of the Most High, men depart from evil.
And by the fear of the Most High, which is the keeping of his commandments, men do what?
Men depart from evil.
Men depart from evil. Now the key point is that once again we see that the Bible mentions mercy and truth. Mercy and truth, which are key components in honoring and worshiping the Most High. And through mercy and truth, it states that what?
Iniquity is purged.
Iniquity is purged. So sin is purged out of the earth through both mercy as well as truth. What is truth? The keeping of the Most High's commandments. Okay, go ahead.
And by the fear of the Most High, men depart from evil. Verse 7. When a man's ways please the Most High.
So when your ways please the Most High, which means no longer are you examining your ways as clean in your own eyes. Now you're looking at your ways as if you must now make a change. You must now convert your soul. Or you must now, as the Bible tells us in the book of Romans, the 12th chapter, in the 2nd verse. As a matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Romans 12:2. Okay. Romans 12 and 2.
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And be not conformed to this
And
world,
we decide not to be conformed into this world. Go ahead.
but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
And when we decide to be transformed by the renewing of our minds, go back to Romans or Proverbs 16.
Proverbs chapter 16, verse 7. When a man's ways please the Most
So
High.
when your ways please the Most High, when you now serve the Most High and commit yourself into the Most High, when you be not conformed into this world and transform yourself by the renewing of your mind, go ahead.
He maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him.
He maketh even your enemies to be at peace with you. So no one can deny the Spirit of the Most High when it's operating with you, not even your enemies. So that's the importance of being merciful as well as truthful, being honest. All right? Psalms 114 and 141. All right, you got that? 119. Salakia, Psalms 119, 141. All right. Sorry if I misquoted that reference. Psalms 119, 141. Go ahead.
I am small and despised, yet do not I forget thy precepts.
So David states that he's small and despised, but yet he does not forget the precepts of the Most High. So in other words, no matter what you may be going through, whatever adversities you may be dealing with, you can never decide to forget the Most High's precepts. Go ahead.
142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth.
So we read this earlier, showing you the link between the law and the truth. Go ahead.
143. Trouble and anguish have taken hold on me, yet thy commandments are my delights.
So even through trouble and anguish, David stated that the commandments of the Most High were his delight. Go ahead.
The righteousness of thy testimony is everlasting. Give me understanding, and I shall live.
All right. So let's jump to the book of Proverbs 22 and 17. So this shows us that the truth cannot be forsaken even in tribulation and anguish and persecution, so on and so forth. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later, because some people ask the question, is it okay to lie in certain circumstances in which your life may be on the line, or there may be damning circumstances in which someone is threatening harm and you tell a lie in order to be able to get out of a situation. All right, we're going to see what the Bible says about those scenarios, but before we get there, let's get to the book of Proverbs 22 and 17.
Proverbs chapter 22, verse 17. Bow down thy ear, and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart unto my knowledge. For it is a pleasing thing, if thou keep them within thee. They shall withal be fitted in thy lips, that thy trust may be in the Most High.
So verse 18 tells us, as a matter of fact, starting from 17, it tells us to bow our ear, or bow down thine ear, which means to humble yourself, and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart to my knowledge. Whose knowledge? The Most High's knowledge. For it is a pleasant thing if thou keep them. And I magnify that point because they have convinced us that it's grievous and it's impossible to follow the commandments of the Most High power. But the Bible tells us that it's a pleasant thing if you keep them within thee, that they shall withal be fitted in thy lips. Go ahead.
That thy trust may be in the Most High.
That our trust may be in the Most High. Go ahead.
I have made known to thee this day, even to thee. Have not I written to thee excellent things and counsels and knowledge, that I might make thee know the certainty of the words of truth, that thou mightest answer the words of truth to them that sin unto thee.
So it states that I might make thee know the certainty of the words of truth, that thou mightest answer the words of truth to them that are sent unto thee. So all those who apply themselves to the wisdom, like the wisdom of Solomon and the Proverbs of Solomon and the commandments of the Most High God, because that's what Solomon was uplifting and praising all through his wisdom and his writings. it states that we may answer the words of truth to them that are sent unto thee. So anyone that's placed before us, we're responsible for giving them or propagating the word of truth, whether it be in a biblical conversation or whether it be in a general conversation. We're still bound by law to be honest and truthful. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 22. Rob not the poor because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate.
All right, let's hit on that. Let's jump to the book of Isaiah chapter 10, verse 20. The book of Isaiah chapter 10, verse 20.
Isaiah chapter 10, verse 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Most High, the Holy One in Israel.
So when the Bible says to stay upon, that means to depend upon. So no longer shall we depend upon our oppressors. That's what it means when it says those that smote them, or those that smote him, but shall stay upon, or stay on, meaning to depend upon the Most High. Go ahead.
Verse 21. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty power.
So it states that a remnant of Jacob shall return. And we're going to show you why only a remnant shall return, and why the whole house of Israel will not return back into the Most High power. We're going to find out that it's because of our lack of accepting and honoring the truth of the Most High is going to be the reason why many of our people are cut off. And as Christ states, there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. So many of our people are going to be destroyed because they decide or they refuse to accept the knowledge of the truth. Go ahead.
Verse 22. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea.
So though we be as the sand of the sea, as the Most High promised to our father Abraham. Go ahead.
Yet a remnant of them shall return.
Yet only a remnant of the nation of Israel shall return. Go ahead.
The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness.
So there's a consumption that's been decreed upon the house of Israel, that a certain number of us will be cut off by destruction. Okay? And we're going to show you why this is so. Let's continue on to the book of Isaiah 38 and 18. Isaiah 38 verse 18. All right? And this is why a remnant of our people are going to make it. Or only a remnant of our people are going to make it. Okay?
Isaiah chapter 38 verse 18. For the grave cannot praise thee, death cannot celebrate thee. They that go down into the pit cannot hope for thy truth. The living.
So the Bible states that they that go down to the pit cannot hope for the truth. So once you're gone, you're gone. There's no hope. That's why it tells us in Ecclesiastes that a live dog or a living dog is better than a dead lion. Even though both of those animals compare, the Bible tells us that the lion is the greatest creature on earth as far as the beast of the field. Yet a dead lion is worse off than a live dog. Okay? And Solomon uses that comparison to show you that someone that's still alive, regardless of their stature, regardless of their place in this earth, still has a chance to repent. Whereas someone who's passed away, regardless of their stature, regardless of their fame, fortune, or whatever the case may be, they have no chance to repent. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 19. The living, he shall praise thee.
So the Bible states, the living shall praise thee. Why? Because they that go down to the pit cannot hope for thy truth. They have no chance. Go ahead.
The living, he shall praise thee as I do this day. The father to the children shall make known thy truth.
So the Bible states the father to the children shall make known the truth. So according to the Bible, we're supposed to pass the truth down to our children from generation to generation so that this truth can pass on. All right? Let's go to the next verse in Isaiah 48 and 1. All right?
Isaiah chapter 48, verse 1. Hear ye this, O house of Jacob, which are called by the name of Israel, and are come forth out of the waters of Judah, which swear by the name of the Most High, and make mention of the power of Israel, but not in truth, nor in righteousness.
Right, so this is why many of our people are going to be cut off. It states that they make mention of the God of Israel, or the power of Israel, but what?
But not in truth, nor in righteousness.
But not in truth, nor in righteousness. They do it for show. They do it for the outward appearance, but they do it not for what?
For righteousness.
For righteousness. Go ahead.
For they call themselves of the holy city.
So we call ourselves the holy city, speaking about the house of Israel. Go ahead.
And stay themselves upon the power of Israel.
Go ahead.
The Most High of hosts is his name.
Go ahead.
I have declared the former things from the beginning, and they went forth out of my mouth, and I showed them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass.
Speaking about the prophecies, he declared the former things from the beginning, and they went forth out of his mouth. And I showed them, and I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. That's speaking about the prophecies of the Most High. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Because I knew that thou art obstinate, and thy neck is as an iron sinew, and thy brow brass.
So that's speaking about the stiff-neckedness and the hard-heartedness of the house of Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 5. I have even from the beginning declared it to thee. Before it came to pass, I showed it thee, lest thou shouldest say, mine idol had done them, and my graven image, and my molten image had commanded them.
So in other words, the Most High declared the prophecies from the beginning, lest we should give all praise and honor to our idols and our graven images, as many of our people have done. They have taken the good content of the Bible and the righteous content of the Bible, and they've given all credit to the idols, whether it be the cross. They'll give it to Caesar Borgia or Cesare Borgia, if you want to go by the exact pronunciation. They'll give it to a stone in Mecca, so on and so forth. But the Bible states that he had declared it from the beginning, lest thou shouldest say, mine idol have done them. Go ahead.
And my graven image.
And my graven image.
And my molten image have commanded them.
So the Most High made sure that we cannot give any level of credence of the prophecies to idols and graven images. Okay, it's his power that's bringing these things to pass. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Thou hast heard, see all this, and will ye not declare it? I have showed thee new things from this time, even hidden things, and thou didst not know them. They are created now, and not from the beginning, even before the day when thou heardest them not, lest thou shouldest say, behold, I knew them.
All right, let's jump over to the book of Isaiah 59 and 10.
Isaiah chapter 59, verse 10. We grope for the wall like the blind.
So the Bible tells us that the house of Israel, in fact, let's start at verse 9. Isaiah 59, verse 9. Go ahead.
Therefore is judgment far from us.
So the Bible states that judgment is far from us. All right, go ahead. Speaking about the house of Israel, go ahead.
Neither doeth justice overtake us. We wait for light, but behold, obscurity.
So we wait for light, but behold, obscurity, meaning darkness. Go ahead.
For brightness, but we walk in darkness.
But we walk in darkness. Go ahead.
We grope for the wall like the blind.
We grope for the wall like the blind. Go ahead.
We grope as if we had no eyes.
We grope as if we had no eyes. You remember the curse where the Most High said we shall grope at noonday as one that have blindness, back in Deuteronomy the 28th chapter. Go ahead.
We stumble at noonday as in the night.
We stumble at noonday, which is the lightest part of the day, as in the night. Go ahead.
We are in the desolate places as dead men.
We are in desolate places as dead men. Go ahead.
We roar all like bears, and mourn sore like doves. We look for judgment, but there is none. For salvation, but it is far off from us.
So judgment and salvation is far from us. Why? Because at one point we as a nation decided to reject the truth of the Most High. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 12. For our transgressions are multiplied before thee, and our sins testify against us. For our transgressions are with us, and as for our iniquities, we know them.
Go ahead.
In transgressing and lying against the Most High.
So in transgressing and lying against the Most High. So that was one of the transgressions of the nation of Israel. Dishonesty. Go ahead.
And lying against the Most High, and departing away from our power.
And departing away from our God. Go ahead.
Speaking oppressions and revolt, conceiving and uttering from the heart words of falsehood.
So conceiving and uttering, so not only did we speak these things, we conceived these things. We meditated upon these things. And it states, conceiving and uttering from the heart words of falsehood. That was one of our greatest sins. Go ahead.
And judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. Yeah, truth faileth, and he that departed from evil maketh himself a prey.
So it states that truth faileth, and he that departed from evil maketh himself a prey. So through coming and waking up to the truth, and now starting to acknowledge your wrongs, to acknowledge that idolatry is off, homosexuality is off, and all the practices that we've adopted in a society is off, you become an enemy, a prey, according to the Bible. Okay? Go ahead.
And the Most High saw it, and it displeased him, that there was no judgment.
And the Most High saw this amongst the nation of Israel. He saw it back then with our forefathers, and he's seeing it today. Okay, go ahead. And it states that it displeased him that he saw no judgment. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And he saw that there was no man, and wanted that there was no intercessor.
Go ahead.
Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him.
Therefore he had to send Christ into this earth in order to become a sacrifice based on our lies, our falsehoods, and the things that we've done against the Most High. All right? But the key point we wanted to pull out of this reference was the fact that truth, for the sake of truth, we become enemies to this world. Okay? Let's get the book of Jeremiah 7:28.
Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 28. But thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyed not the voice of the Most High their power, nor received correction. Truth is perished and is cut off from their mouth.
So truth is perished and is cut off from their mouth. Once again, showing the fact that truth at one point was separated from the house of Israel. And to a degree, it still exists until this day, in which you go amongst the house of Israel, the different factions of our people, and you find the lack of truth in their religions, their philosophies, the way we live our lives. It's far separated from the truth of the Most High. All right? Let's get some more references. Let's get the book of Jeremiah, the 9th chapter, a few chapters over, and the 5th verse. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 5. And they would deceive everyone his neighbor.
Let's start at verse 4.
Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 4. Take ye heed every one of his neighbor, and trust ye not in any brother. For every brother will utterly supplant.
So the Most High, as a matter of fact, let's start at verse 1. Jeremiah 9:1. Go ahead.
Oh, that my head were waters, and my eyes a fountain of tears, that I might weep day and night for the slain of the daughter of my people.
So Jeremiah stated that, oh, that my head were waters, and mine eyes a fountain of tears, that I might weep day and night for the slain of the daughter of my people. So Jeremiah was grieved for the hurt of his people, or the destruction of the nation of Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 2. Oh, that I had in the wilderness a lodging place of wayfaring men, that I might leave my people and go from them.
So if I had another place where I could go far away from the house of Israel, that's what Jeremiah is stating. Go ahead.
For they be all adulterous.
Because they all are adulterers, or they be all adulterous. So Jeremiah wanted to separate himself from the house of Israel. Go ahead.
An assembly of treacherous men.
And an assembly of treacherous men. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And they bend their tongue like their bows for lies.
So they bend their tongue. They prepare their tongue for lies. That's what it means when it states that they bend their tongues like the bow for lies. Go ahead.
But they are not valiant for the truth.
But they're not valiant for the truth. They're not willing to fight in war and stand up for the truth. Go ahead.
Upon the earth. For they proceeded from evil to evil.
Because we proceeded from evil to evil, from one evil to the next, from idolatry to unclean foods to homosexuality, lesbianism, so on and so forth, from evil to evil. Go ahead.
And they knew me not. They knew not me, said the Most High. Verse 4. Take ye heed every one of his neighbor, and trust ye not in any brother.
So this is why Jeremiah is stating, take ye heed every one of his neighbor, and trust ye not in any brother. Go ahead.
For every brother will utterly supplant.
Because every brother is not a brother, according to the Bible. Every brother will utterly supplant. Go ahead.
And every neighbor will walk with slanders.
And every neighbor will walk with slanders. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And they will deceive everyone his neighbor, and will not speak the truth. They have taught their tongue to speak lies.
They have taught their tongue to speak lies. They have meditated and they have perfected the concept of telling lies. Go ahead.
And weary themselves to commit iniquity.
And they have wearied themselves. They have grown tired in committing iniquity. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Thine habitation is in the midst of deceit. Through deceit they refuse to know me, said the Most High. Therefore, thus said the Most High.
And it states their habitation is in the midst of deceit. So in other words, we made lies and dishonesty a habitation or a house. We built the foundation and a whole covering on the concept of dishonesty and deceit. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Therefore, thus said the Most High of hosts, behold, I will melt them and try them.
So the Most High said he would melt the nation of Israel. Go ahead.
For how shall I do for the daughter of my people?
Go ahead.
Their tongue is an arrow shot out. It speaketh deceit.
Go ahead.
One speaketh peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in heart he layeth his weight.
Right. So we adopted the same practices of our oppressors, as it tells us in the book of Psalms, that his words were smoother than butter, but yet war was in his heart. It tells us here that the nation of Israel dealt with those same practices. Their tongue is as an arrow shot out. It speaketh deceit, meaning it speaketh lies. One speaketh peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth. So out of his mouth he speaketh peaceable things. But in his heart he layeth his weight. So in his heart there's deceit, there's violence. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 9. Shall I not visit them for these things, said the Most High?
So shall we not be judged for these practices? Go ahead.
Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this?
And the Most High have avenged himself upon the house of Israel based on our iniquity. Go ahead.
Verse 10. For the mountains will I take up as a weeping and wailing, and for the habitations of the wilderness a lamentation, because they are burnt up, so that none can pass through them. Neither can men hear the voice of the cattle. Both the fowl of the heavens and the beasts are fled.
All right, let's jump to the book of Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Hosea 4, verse 1.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Hear the word of the Most High, ye children of Israel. For the Most High had a controversy with the habitations of the land.
So the Most High has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. We're going to find out that the land he's speaking of is the land of Israel, and that the Most High has a controversy with the house of Israel. Now, we also use this reference to speak about the Most High having a controversy with the inhabitants of Babylon, or modern-day Babylon. And it holds true because all of these things that the Most High pronounced against the nation of Israel are still taking place in modern-day Babylon. But the original controversy that the Most High had was against the house of Israel. So let's read on. Hosea 4 and 1.
Hear the word of the Most High, ye children of Israel. For the Most High had a controversy with the inhabitants of the land.
So he has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. Go ahead.
Because there is no truth.
Because there is no truth. This is one of the reasons why the Most High was against the nation of Israel. Go ahead.
No mercy.
No mercy. Remember, we established earlier that mercy and truth is a key point of following the commandments back in the book of Proverbs. So it states that no mercy, nor truth, go ahead,
nor knowledge of the Most High in the land.
nor knowledge of the Most High in the land. Go ahead.
Verse 2. By swearing and lying,
By swearing and lying, go ahead.
and killing, and stealing, and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of the heaven.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Yet let no man strive, nor reprove another, for this people are as they that strive with the priests.
So this people are as they that strive with the priests. So we strive back and forth with the priests of the Most High. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Therefore shalt thou fall in a day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night.
So the nation shall fall by day, and the prophet shall fall with thee by night. Go ahead.
And I will destroy thy mother.
Go ahead.
My people are destroyed for the lack of
So
knowledge.
this is how we know the original context is dealing with the nation of Israel. He comes back and states that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Go ahead.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge.
Because you have rejected knowledge, what knowledge? When we go back to verse 1, it states that nor knowledge of God in the land. So this is speaking about the knowledge of the Most High. Go ahead.
I will also reject thee.
I will also reject thee. Go ahead.
That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power.
See, we forgot the law of the Most High. So that's the knowledge that we lacked. Go ahead.
I will also forget thy children.
I will also forget thy children. Let's jump to the book of John 3 and 17. All right, go ahead.
St. John chapter 3 verse 17. For the Most High sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he had not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of the Most High.
Go ahead.
And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world.
So this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world. How did light come into the world? Through Christ. Go ahead.
And men love darkness rather than light.
And men love darkness rather than light. So even though light have come into the world by way of Christ, men love darkness rather than light. Go ahead.
Because their deeds were evil.
Because their deeds were evil. Go ahead.
Verse 20. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light.
So if you doeth evil, you hateth the light, which is Christ. Neither cometh to the light, but what?
Lest his deeds should be reproved.
Lest his deeds should be reproved. So that's why the world would rather stay in darkness. As long as they're in darkness, their deeds cannot be reproved. Go ahead.
Verse 21. But he that doeth truth cometh to the light.
But those that are down with the truth cometh to the light, which is Christ. Go ahead.
That his deeds may be made manifest.
That his deeds may be made manifest. Go ahead.
That they are wrought in the Most High.
Because it will show that his deeds are wrought in the Most High power. Go ahead.
After these things came Yeshua and his disciples into the land of Judea. And there he tarried with them and baptized. And John also was baptizing in Antioch.
So that's it on that. So the key point with that is the fact that when we become truthful with ourselves, what happens is that we receive comfort in our spirits. We have no problem with coming to the light. Okay? For those who actually perform the truth and those who actually operate in the light and in the spirit of truth. All right? Let's go to the book of John 4 and 21.
St. John chapter 4 verse 21. Yeshua said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what.
So ye worship ye know not what. So it's important to know who you're worshiping and what you're worshiping. Go ahead.
We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews.
We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. And if you remember the history behind John the 4th chapter, going back to the book of 2 Kings the 17th chapter, you had converts that were placed in the land of Samaria back in 721 BC. And through those converts being placed in the land, thousands of years came to pass. You have this woman in the land of Samaria claiming to be of the original lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Christ, to make a long story short, told this woman, you worship you know not what. Why? Because her forefathers that were placed in the land dealt with idolatry. Even though they kept some of the practices of our forefathers and certain commandments and keeping the Sabbath and things of that nature, they did it in honor of their gods. So he states, you worship you know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. Go ahead.
Verse 23, but the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth.
So a time is going to come in which the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. That's who the Most High is looking for. Go ahead.
For the Father seeketh such to worship him.
Thus saith the Most High, or thus saith Christ. Go ahead.
The Most High is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
So they who worship the Most High must worship him in spirit as well as in truth. Okay, you can't be lacking in either spirit, neither can you lack in truth. All right, keep in mind, the concept of this lesson or the topic of discussion is truth is power. So we're going over the power of truth. All right, let's go to the book of John 8 and 31.
St. John chapter 8, verse 31. Then Yeshua said to those Jews which believed on him.
So Christ is speaking to the Jews which believed on him to show you that all of the Jews or all of the Israelites did not reject Christ. Go ahead.
If you continue in my word.
If you continue in my word, go ahead.
Then are ye my disciples indeed.
Then are ye my disciples indeed. So when you go into the Bible and you read about the disciples are Jews who follow Christ. Go ahead.
Verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
So this is a very famous verse. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Both physically as well as spiritually free. Okay? Let's jump down to verse 44.
Verse 44. Ye are of the father the devil.
Ye are of your father the devil. Let's start up a few verses at verse 39. See who Christ is speaking to.
Verse 39. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Yeshua said unto them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham.
So it states if you're Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. So it doesn't matter if you're an Israelite. If you don't do the works of Abraham, it doesn't matter. This is what Christ is explaining to the scribes and Pharisees. As we read in the book of Matthew, the 3rd chapter, the same example is spoken of by John the Baptist, where he says, think not to say that we have Abraham to our father. For the Most High is able to take of these stones and raise up children unto Abraham. So just being an Israelite is not a golden ticket into the kingdom. Okay? He says, if you were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. Go ahead.
Verse 40. But now you seek to kill me.
But now you seek to kill me. Go ahead.
A man that had told you the truth.
So why did they try to kill Christ? Read that again.
A man that had told you the truth.
A man that had told you the truth. So they didn't try to kill Christ because he was spewing lies and deceit and being deceptive. They attempted to kill Christ because he told the truth. Go ahead.
Which I have heard of the Most High.
Which he heard from the Most High. So this truth wasn't something that Christ came up with his own mind and his own reasoning. He spoke truth as it was revealed unto him by his Father. Okay, go ahead.
This did not Abraham.
This did not Abraham. And we're going to come back to this later to show you some examples that people use to state, is it okay to lie? All right, go ahead.
Verse 41. You do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him.
So the Bible tells us, Christ tells us that you do the deeds of your father, regardless of you, if you're an Israelite or not. If you do the works of Satan, then you are of Satan. Okay? That's regardless if you're an Israelite and if you know you're an Israelite. All right, go ahead. If you do the works of the devil, then you are of your father the devil. Go ahead.
Verse 41. You do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even the Most High.
Go ahead.
Yeshua said unto them.
So they didn't understand. They weren't spiritual to be able to understand what Christ was saying. They said we have one Father, and that we proceed not from fornication, and our Father is the Most High. But they didn't understand what Christ was saying. Go ahead.
Verse 42. Yeshua said unto them, if the Most High were your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from the Most High.
But if the Most High was your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from the Father. So their works show that they did not love the Father, and that they were not the children of their Father, or who they claimed to be their Father. Go ahead.
Neither came I of myself, but he that sent me.
So Christ didn't come of his own will. As he states, I came not down from heaven to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. But he sent me. So the Most High is the one that sent Christ to speak this word and perform this will. Go ahead.
Verse 43. Why do you not understand my speech?
So if you're of the Father, why do you not understand my speech? Why you don't understand these words and these parables and this understanding that I'm bringing directly from the Father? Go ahead.
Even because you cannot hear my word.
Even because you cannot hear my word, meaning you can't understand it. Go ahead.
Verse 44. Ye are of the father, the devil.
And because they couldn't understand, Christ stated that they are of their father, the devil. Because that's who they were following in spirit. Go ahead.
And the lust of your father you will do.
And the lust of your father you will do. They were performing the lust of their father. Go ahead.
He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him.
Go ahead.
When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own.
And when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. Go ahead.
For he is a liar, and the father of it.
So he's a liar and the father of it. And this is who the scribes and Pharisees was really worshiping. The father of lies. Go ahead.
Verse 45. And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not.
And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. It wasn't because Christ was lying to the scribes and Pharisees and the chief priests. They tried to kill Christ because he was telling the truth. Go ahead.
Verse 46. Which of you convincing me of sin?
So which any of you can convince me that I've committed any level of sin? Go ahead.
And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me?
And if I'm telling you the truth, then why do you not believe me? Go ahead.
He that is of the Most High heareth the Most High's words. Ye therefore hear them not.
So this is how we determine who's really down with the Most High and who's against the Most High. It's not based on what you say out of your mouth. It's not based on your emotions. It's based on your works. And as we can read in the book of John, the 8th chapter, it tells us that he that is of the Most High heareth the Most High's words. So those who hear the Most High's words are really down with the Most High. Go ahead.
Ye therefore hear them not.
And you hear them not. Go ahead.
Because you are not of the Most High.
And because the scribes and Pharisees were not of the Most High, they could not hear or understand the information that Christ was bringing. Go ahead.
Verse 48. Then answered the Jews and said unto him, Say we not, well that thou art a Samaritan?
So they tried to accuse Christ of being a Samaritan. Go ahead.
And has a devil?
And accused him of having a devil. Why? Because he told the truth. Go ahead.
Verse 49. Yeshua answered, I have not a devil, but I honor my Father, and ye do dishonor me. And I seek not my own glory. There is one that seeketh and judgeth. Verily, verily, I say unto you, if a man keep my saying, he shall never see death.
All right. So without the truth, you become a slave to this world. As Christ states, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay? So without the truth, what are you? You are a slave. You are in bondage. Okay? And it's not the freedom that comes with this society. Remember, the truth is linked to the Most High's commandments. Okay? So the truth that Christ is speaking about is the truth of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. All right? Let's get John 14 and 6. John 14 and 6.
St. John chapter 14 verse 6. Yeshua said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me.
So Christ brings more understanding of truth, stating that I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man cometh to the Father but by me. So some people may ask, well, how is it that in the Old Testament it states that the law is the truth, but now Christ is stating that I am the way, the truth, and the life? And to clear that up, let's just get John 1 and 17 real quick. Keep in mind also St. Matthew 5 and 17, as we'll get that also. Christ states that, think not that I'm come to destroy the law. I have not come to destroy the law, but to fulfill. So Christ is a fulfillment of the law. Because he fulfilled the law, Christ is now the example of the truth. Okay? So let's get John 1:17.
St. John chapter 1 verse 17. For the law was given by Moses.
So yes, the law was given by Moses. But go ahead.
But grace and truth came by Yeshua Christ.
But the grace and truth concerning the law came through Christ. Christ brought the grace and the truth of the law. Okay? So let's go back to the book of St. John 14:6.
St. John chapter 14:6. And Yeshua said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
So I am the way, the truth, and the life. Go ahead.
No man cometh unto the Father but by me.
And no man can come to the Father but through Christ. It don't matter what philosophy you come with and how many so-called facts you bring out. It doesn't matter. If you're not down with Christ, then you don't have the truth. So, for example, no matter how much points or facts that Farrakhan brings out, it doesn't matter. If he's not down with Christ and he doesn't accept Christ as his Lord and Savior, he's not in the truth. Okay? Or anyone else with any other different philosophy. You may have other people who may have a few good facts and a few good points within their doctrine. But if that doctrine is not based on Christ, then it's not the truth. So this gives us the measurement of truth and how we are to perceive what truth is. Okay? Christ says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man cometh to the Father but by me. Go ahead.
Verse 7. If you had known me, you should have known my Father also. And from henceforth ye know him, and have seen him. Verse 8. Philip said unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. Verse 9. Yeshua said unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that had seen me has seen the Father.
So Christ told Philip that he that have seen me have seen the Father. Why? Because Christ came in the full spirit and power of the Most High. Remember, he came not from heaven to do his own will, but the will of him that sent him. Okay, go ahead.
And how sayest thou then, show us the Father? Verse 10, believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me?
So let's jump to the book of Galatians 4:16. There's a lot of information in this document that Brother and Elder Yarak put together, but we won't have time to cover every single point. But we're just going to get some key points before we move on to the last segment of this information. So let's jump to the book of Galatians 4:15.
Galatians chapter 4 verse 15.
Go ahead.
Where is then the blessedness you spake of? For I bear you record that if it had been possible, ye would have plucked out your own eyes and have given them to me. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth?
So Paul states, have I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? And this scripture rings true for a lot of us who have acknowledged the truth and have come into the truth of the Most High in Christ. And now those who we once knew and loved and cherished as family and friends become like bitter enemies. Why? Because of the sake of the truth. All right? Now, of course, to bring levity, there are situations in which we bring it upon ourselves, in which when we get the truth, we become overzealous. We go into those arguments and those battles with family members, and sometimes that's what causes our family to be enemies of the truth. But in some cases, there's a situation in which just by you changing your life and changing the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you think, the way you act, you become an enemy to the ones you love. As we read earlier, those who acknowledge the truth become a prey. You become an enemy of this world. Okay? Let's jump to the book of Ephesians 4:14.
Ephesians chapter 4 verse, you said 15?
4:14, Salakia.
Ephesians chapter 4 verse 14. That we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men, and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive.
So we must be able to stand on truth regardless of living in a world full of lies and deception. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 15. But speaking the truth in love may grow. But speaking the truth in love.
But speaking the truth in love. So regardless of this world full of deception, lies, and trickery, we must continue to stand on the truth and speak the truth in love. Go ahead.
May grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Christ. Verse 16.
All right, let's hit on that. Let's jump to the book of Sirach, 4:25, and after this, we're going to touch on the last point of this lesson.
Sirach chapter 4, verse 25. In no wise speak against the truth.
So we have a commandment from the Bible to in no wise, meaning in no manner, in no way, speak against the truth. Go ahead.
But be abased of the error of thine ignorance.
But be abashed of the error of thine ignorance. Go ahead.
Be not ashamed to confess thy sins, and force not the course of the river.
So be not ashamed to confess your sins and force not the course of the water. Go ahead.
Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man.
Go ahead.
Neither accept the person of the mighty. Strive for the truth unto death.
So the Bible commands us to strive for the truth unto death. We must stand for truth unto the death, even if our lives are on the line. Go ahead.
And the Most High shall fight for thee. Be not hasty in thy tongue, and in thy deeds slack and remiss. Be not as a lion in thy house, nor frantic among thy servants.
All right. So the last key point was verse 28, where it says, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. And this leads us into our next point. In what circumstance is it okay to lie? Because some people ask that question. Is it okay to lie in certain scenarios and circumstances? And as we just read in Sirach 4:28, it states what?
Strive for the truth unto death.
So that should answer that question. Strive for the truth unto death. Even if your life is on the line, you must still honor and respect the truth. Okay, go ahead.
And the Lord shall fight for thee.
And the Most High shall fight for thee. But to just give a few examples in the Bible, because we get this question many times. So I want to just give a few precepts to bring levity to this question. Let's start in the book of Matthew 26 and 34. Because you have many people that may stand on both sides of the fence. On one side, people may state that, well, if someone is, if you're dealing in a situation in which you may have government officials on your back, or something may take place in which you get pulled up by magistrates or government officials, and they may ask you where someone is located or things of that nature, that in order to conceal where the person is, you'll lie to authorities. So you have people who may come from that perspective. But we're also going to show you another perspective that's contained in the Bible. And we're going to show you many examples of what took place using Christ, the disciples, as well as our forefather Abraham. But first we're going to start with the example of Peter and Christ in the book of Matthew 26, verse 34.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 34. Yeshua said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, that this night before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice.
So Christ told Peter on the night that he was given up that he would deny him 3 times before the cock crew. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 35. Peter said unto him, Though I should die with thee, yet will I not deny thee.
So Peter stated that I will die with you before I deny you. Go ahead.
Likewise also said all the disciples.
And all the disciples said the same thing. Go ahead.
Then come Yeshua with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and said unto the disciples, Sit ye here while I go and pray yonder.
All right, so let's see if this thing panned out like the disciples said it would, or as the disciples planned. Because remember, they all stated that they would die before they denied Christ. Let's jump to the book of Matthew 28 and 69. Matthew 26 and 69.
Verse 69. Now Peter sat without the palace, and a damsel came unto him, saying, Thou also was with Yeshua of Galilee.
So a woman came out and she noticed Peter. She noticed his appearance and stated that you were also with Yeshua of Galilee. Go ahead.
But he denied before them all, saying, I know not what thou sayest.
So Peter stated that I know not what you're talking about. I know not what thou sayest. Go ahead.
And when he was gone out into the porch, another maid saw him and said unto them that were there, This fellow was also with Yeshua of Nazareth.
So another woman pops up and states that she saw Peter explicitly and distinctively with Yeshua of Nazareth. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 72. And again, he denied with an oath.
And once again, he denied it. Okay, so he lied. Go ahead.
I do not know the man. And after a while came unto him they that stood by and said to Peter, Surely thou also art one of them, for thy speech betrayed thee.
For thy speech bewrayeth thee. Go ahead.
Then began he to curse and to swear, saying, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crew.
So eventually the cock crew, and what happened?
And Peter remembered the words of Yeshua, which said unto him, Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And he went out and wept bitterly.
So some people may use this as an example to state that, well, if my life is in danger, if someone is coming after me, then yes, it's okay for me to tell a lie. And this is a rare case, number one, and it's a specific case in which we know that Peter would be the one in which the church would be built. He was the foundation or the rock upon which Christ built his church. But was it okay for Peter to lie in those particular scenarios? Well, we're going to measure up Peter's actions with Christ and what Christ did when he was put on trial. Okay? Let's jump to the book of Matthew 26 and 62. All right? Now, once again, we all know that in order for prophecy to come to pass and for Peter to build the church, he had to get away, whatever the situation may be. Okay? But still, some people may ask, is it okay to lie? Can we do like Peter did? And the question is, if you're in a situation in which Christ laid the foundation of the church on your shoulders, and you're the rock in which Christ built this church, then yes, you can use the scenario of Peter. Okay? But many of us are not placed with this particular scenario. All right? So let's see some other scenarios. Like, for example, let's see what Christ did when he was placed on trial. And people were asking him certain questions. Let's see if Christ lied. Okay? Matthew 26 and 62.
And the high priest arose and said unto him, Answerest thou nothing? What is it? Which these witnesses against thee?
So let's jump up a few verses at verse 59. Go ahead.
Verse 59. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Yeshua to put him to death.
Go ahead.
But found none. Yeah, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came two false witnesses, and said, This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of the Most High, and to build it in 3 days.
So think about this. This is Christ, a perfect man who did no wrong, did no evil. He even asked the scribes and Pharisees, which one of you can convince me of sin? Which one of you can prove that I've committed any level of sin? And he's in a situation in which you have false witnesses in a trial coming against him, stating that, saying things and twisting Christ's words and saying things that he didn't really say. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 62. And the high priest arose and said unto him, Answerest thou nothing?
So Christ didn't say anything in response to these accusations. Go ahead.
What is it? Which these witnesses against thee?
So what are these people saying? Is it true? Go ahead.
But Yeshua held his peace.
But Christ held his peace. He didn't say anything. Okay? So this is an example of what we can do in certain situations when we're placed before magistrates. Okay? It states that Christ said nothing. Another reference, if you can get that one real quick, where it states that, think not what you shall say, for the Most High, or the Spirit of the Most High should come upon you. You know what I'm talking about? Where it says, think not what you shall say. Let me see if I can get that one real quick. All right. And while I'm looking for this, you can go to verse. You got it? All right. Read that real quick.
All right, Matthew chapter 10, verse 19.
All right, Matthew 10 and 19. Go ahead.
We'll start at verse 18. Verse 18. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake.
So Christ stated that we would be brought before governors and kings for his sake. He stated that we were going to be persecuted and tribulated for his sake. So what's the solution for this particular issue? Go ahead.
For a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak.
But when you're delivered up, when you're in a situation in which your life is on the line, and you're placed before magistrates, you're placed before military officials or government police officials, and they're asking you certain questions of, where is this person? Where is that person? We're going to torture you if you don't speak up. What did Christ say?
For it shall be given you in that same hour what you shall speak.
So Christ stated it's going to be given you in the hour which you shall speak. So there's no need to lie even in those particular situations. Okay? If you're being led by the Spirit. So let's jump back to the book of Matthew 26 and 63.
Matthew chapter 26 verse 63. But Yeshua held his peace, and the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living power, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ
So Christ wouldn't speak. They couldn't get a word out of Christ, right? Go ahead.
And Yeshua said unto him, thou hast said.
And finally he spoke and stated, thou hast said. So he used their words against them. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter shall ye see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven.
So we prophesied to let them know that after this, whatever this event was about to take place as far as his crucifixion, he was going to be glorified by the Father. Go ahead.
Verse 65. Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, he has spoken blasphemy.
Now, even though Christ spoke truth, he told the truth. They said what?
He spoke blasphemy.
He spoke blasphemy. So they still accused him of speaking blasphemy. Go ahead.
What further need have we of witnesses? Behold, now you have heard his blasphemy.
So we need no more witnesses. We have heard this man's blasphemy. Go ahead.
Verse 66. What think ye? They answered and said, he is guilty of death.
So for the truth, he was found guilty of death. Now, did Christ afterwards state that, whoa, hold up, you misunderstood what I stated? I was saying this, really. You know? He didn't go back and backpedal on his words. Okay? He stood on the truth. He let them know that, listen, after you crucify me, I'm going to be glorified by the Father. All right? You're going to see me in the clouds of heaven. All right? So that's what Christ stood on. And even after they told him that, listen, we're going to put you to death for your blasphemy, he still stood on the truth. So this is an example to us that even as it tells us in the book of Sirach, strive for the truth even unto death. All right? We must stand for truth even until the death, even if our lives are on the line. Matthew 27 and 11.
Matthew chapter 27 verse 11.
So now this is when they brought Christ before Pilate. Go ahead.
And Yeshua stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, art thou the king of the Jews?
Art thou the king of the Jews? And what was the answer?
And Yeshua said unto him, thou saidst.
Thou sayest. I didn't say that, you said that. And the answer is yes, Christ was the king of the Jews. All right? But as we can see, when Christ was on trial, when his life was on the line, he did not lie. He strove for the truth unto death. All right? Let's get, as a matter of fact, I think we pretty much got that point covered as far as scenarios in which we should tell the truth. All right? So yes, Peter did lie. He did deny Christ in order to continue the ministry. All right. If it wasn't for Peter in that situation committing that act of denying Christ, we wouldn't have the continuation of the truth until this day, because it was through Peter's work and the disciples' work that we're able to get this truth. But that's still not an excuse for us to use that as a golden ticket to lie in certain situations. All right. As we can see, our Lord and Savior strove for the truth unto death and did not lie, even when his life was placed on the line. All right. So hopefully that brought some understanding and edification on truth is power and the importance of being truthful and honest. What we're going to do now is we're going to save the lesson, and we're going to answer